HGG was really cool pre the finals because the way the tournament format worked in the early phases was different. It was best of 5, and you didn't have to use every class, and then as the tournament progressed, it became best of 7, and you had to utilize every class, which meant you couldn't hold classes back for counter purposes, because they had to be good against everything, because you didn't know what you would play against, and you couldn't hold it back to play against something specific. So it actually lost skill as the tournament went on. So, for example, let me kind of try and explain the HGG format really quick. Alright, so we got this chilling. So the way that it worked, this is, we'll say, the best of 5 format. So you have player A, player B, player C, this is taking forever, and player D. Now each player plays, and then you have the ace player, which is one of the other players. So then you have the ace, and so you pick, each player has 2 classes. So, you know, if we just go in Hearthstone and look at all the classes, you just have like warrior plus shaman, for example, rogue plus paladin, hunter plus druid, and then warlock. Obviously, there's more thought than just writing them down in order. And then one player is selected to be the ace. So then, let's say player A is the ace. So then player A in the ace has warrior plus shaman plus the final class, priest. So you see how all 9 classes are utilized. Now player A versus, they all verse the same player on the other side of things. So then player A versus player A from the other side, and then this guy versus B, and they have the same setup for the other team, right? Now, if you play a class, you can't use it in the ace match. So player A, he's as warrior and shaman, and let's say he's versus the other side, which also has warrior and shaman. Then he picks one that he thinks will do good against both of those, while also looking ahead to the ace match, seeing what he's versing in the ace. And let's say their player B is ace, and he has like, I don't know, warlock plus rogue plus paladin. Fuck it. You know. So, anyway, then you're looking ahead and you're like, well, Pirate Warrior's sick versus Warlock, Rogue, and Paladin, so I want to save Warrior for the ace match, so then here I'm going to play Shaman if I can. But also, everyone that's not in the ace match, so like B, C, and D here, they could build their Paladin, or they could build, like, they could say, like, Rogue's really weak in the metagame, I'm only going to play Rogue if they have Hunter, and I'll make it really good against Hunter. I mean, that's a poor example, but you get it. And like Hunter's really weak in the metagame, so I'm only going to play Hunter if they have Rogue, and I'm going to make it a super face Hunter, and then try and queue it into that. So then you have some options there with how you link your classes up to try and cover weak areas in your strong classes. Because you're like, what does Druid lose to? And let's say it's J Druid, and you're like, it only loses to Rogue, so then you pair it with a super aggressive face Hunter, and then if they have Rogue, you play the Hunter, otherwise you just jam Druid every time. And there's some 50-50s in there and a little bit of mind games with it, but you can have a cool lineup with deck building and stuff. Now let's expand this to best of 7, which is what they did in the global games, because they wanted to make it more skill intensive for the finals, and I'm going to show you why that's stupid. So here we go with the best of 7. Now we have the same sort of setup up here with the players like this, but one of the things that changes in University. And now, obviously that's only best of 5 right now, but okay. Then the next match that happens, you would think wouldn't work this way, but it does. So then player A plays again, and then player D plays again, and then the ace match. So, what does that do for us? That means if you're player A, now you have to play Warrior and Shaman again, because there's not new decks added. So the amount of games is increased, but the amount of decks is not increased. And then if you're player D, you have to play Warlock and Mage again. This means your warrior cannot be built to specifically counter something. Your shaman cannot be specifically built to counter something because it is going to verse a random class down here. So you get two classes up here with some amount of strategy, and then at the bottom it's just completely random what you're facing because you have to play with the class you haven't played yet. So let's say you play warrior game 1, then you have to play shaman game 2, guaranteed. So you know you're going to be forced to play it without the option to select it, which means you can't tech it really weird and make it specific for things as well as you can in the best of 5 format. So you're kind of more reliant on queuing matchups that you want, and the best strategy, generally speaking, comes out to play all of the best decks with no tech. That's why in the global games, most of the players just all played standard decks with limited to no tech. The only matchup where you can kind of tech something is in C, because C doesn't have to play again. And then the ace match is player B, so like this comes down here. Plus the one remaining class that's not been used yet, which is priest. So you have to play every single deck except whatever's paired with C. And so the C deck can be teched and used to queue into things specifically and actually be like unique and involve deck building. But all the other decks, it's just more optimal to play standard no-tech decks. And because most of the time the tech's not going to be a factor because you're so unlikely to hit the matchups that you want. And you have to play it. So expanding this to best of 7 forces you to play every deck. By forcing you to play every deck, you remove the strategy of being able to hold back decks that you have in the best of 5. So when Global Games expanded the format from this to this, they actually removed literally all of the skill in the format and absolutely ruined it. So, kind of frustrating.